Welcome to Soul Conversations with Z, Healing in the Raw, where we keep it raw, real, and unfiltered. I'm Zachyra Rodriguez, a trauma specialist and marriage psychotherapist, and this is a space where we dive deep into the messy, yet beautiful and often difficult parts of life. Here we challenge ourselves to face our fears and dig deeper into self-discovery. I'm no newbie. I've navigated many rocky roads and consider myself a recovered traumaholic. Life hasn't been easy, but I truly believe that everything happens for a cause greater than ourselves. Whether you're navigating with grief or grappling with trauma, healing from attachment injuries, or working on your marriage, we're here to unpack it all. No sugarcoating, just honest conversations about the struggles we face and the growth that comes from them. You matter, you are loved, even before your existence, and you're created to do great things. So grab a seat, my friend, take a long, deep breath, and let's get real together. So let's begin. All right, thank you everyone, and welcome to Soul Conversations with Z, Healing in the Raw. And we have another special guest with us today, Michelle Koroseta. I hope I'm saying that right.
Koroseta, yeah.
Okay, great. And we're going to be talking about identity today, which is such a huge topic in today's world because we hear about so many different, classifications, how people see themselves, how we see ourselves, how, the world has actually invited us to see ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So today's topic is going to be pretty cool because we're going to be talking about we're more than what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And we're going to be discovering who we are beyond the labels, beyond other people's expectations, even apart from even who maybe we think that we are.
Right.
So, Michelle, before we begin, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are? What do you do? And so we can actually get to know you.
Sure. I'm Michelle Koroseta. I'm from Florence, New Jersey.
Yeah.
I'm a mom, a wife, a sister, daughter. I have been a police officer for 21 years.
Yes.
I serve on the worship team at my church at Fountain of Life. And and I'm a twin also.
Yes, that's very important because that's going to come up.
Yes.
That's going to be part of our conversation
Yes.
today. People, she is an identical twin.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know that she was an identical twin until maybe like 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
when on her page, I was like, wait a minute, it's two of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about identity and what that actually, relates to in terms of, people and everything else. And sometimes I think we get so connected to a role, right? Or even our professions that we actually become what that is, right? And when we ask people, like, who do they think they are? Right away, people start saying, like, oh, I'm this and I'm that, right? But we really, really don't pause to actually really realize, like, or ask ourselves, like, who am I?
Right.
And one of the things, even in therapy, with women, especially like when they come maybe like after they're like mid-30s, the kids are getting a little bit older and, the kids are maybe now in middle school or high school, and maybe some of them have gone away to college. And what ends up happening is that when you ask that question as far as like, who are you? Many of them are just like, dumbfounded as far as like, what do you mean, who am I? Like, I'm a mom. But if we strip that label away and we stripped away, you're a sister or you're a daughter or a wife, then who are you?
Right.
Right? And I think that's pretty interesting. So for you, that question as far as like, who am I? What comes up for you today as, if I had to ask you that question, and how is that different from maybe how you would have answered maybe like years ago?
So the first thing that comes to mind, first and foremost now, I'm a daughter of the one true King.
Yeah.
My identity is solidified in Christ because, and it's such a shame, I think, that people have to enter into their like 30s and 40s, that until they start asking that question, like, who am I? What is my identity? What am I willing to put up with? What am I willing to set a boundary around? Why does it take to our 40s to like try to figure out what our identity is? But my identity daughter of the one true King.
Yeah.
And having that foundation of Christ makes it easier for me to ebb and flow with the things that happen and with the certain changes in my life, right? I'm a mother, I am a wife, I'm a sister, I'm a daughter.
Yeah.
And I cherish those roles, and I will never not be a mom. I know my commitment is I will never not be a wife.
Yeah.
But my thought is if I put my identity and all of my refuge in that thing, and then something happens to change that thing,
And what happens?
where am I?
Yeah.
What happens then? But if my foundation, knowing that my foundation is with Christ, that He will be with me no matter what happens, my commitment is I'm not getting divorced. But I don't know the future, What happens if I do get divorced? If my entire identity and all of my refuge and all of my comfort and peace and joy come from being a wife, and then that's stripped away from me, then what? Whether it be because I become a widow or whatever the case is. I think people get stuck in those situations because they are not, they're not putting their refuge in the right place. I know for a fact that the right place is in Christ.
Yeah.
But I have a lot of hobbies. I like crafts and arts and putting puzzles together. I like music. I like things like that.
You have
but that's also
creative side.
Yeah, those are part of who I am. Badges that I wear, I guess.
I like that.
Yeah, but I heard maybe it was Toby Mac or something along those lines. And he said, he says, I'm a musician, but that's something that I do. I play music.
Yeah.
Because if I put my whole identity in being a musician, what happens if I lose my voice or I have a stroke?
We'll struggle with that.
I have a stroke and I can't play the guitar anymore. Then what does that make me? Then if my whole identity isn't being a musician. So yeah.
And people do struggle with that, and I don't know. Why do you think people do struggle with that?
Oh, I know why I struggled with it, because you want to be liked, you want to be loved, you want approval, you want, you want to fit in, you want to have a community, you want to have, it took me a really long time. There's a funny story, and I don't know if this would go more towards a different question, but when I was in college, I connected with a bunch of friends who are they're like my hippie friends. I love them. I love their hippie personalities, all that kind of stuff. And they really love like the classic rock music. And I do not discount the talent of the people who play classic rock, like Pink Floyd and Prince. And Prince, I wouldn't consider classic rock, but maybe, I don't discount their talent. I just I don't enjoy their music. But for 20 something years, I've been a fan of Pink Floyd and I've been a fan of Prince. And I've even like begrudgingly listened to their albums, even on my own, like trying to really like it more.
So you were really trying to pretty much like these different, I guess, types of music because you wanted to fit in.
Exactly. I did. Because I really loved them. Yeah. And I still do love them.
The people.
My friends. I love those people. And I was always afraid that, well, if we have nothing in common, they won't like me.
Wow.
So
Imagine
I think,
that.
I know. And I think, there's a whole bunch of reasons why people struggle with that sort of thing is, maybe it was, they had an absent father or a really critical mother, or their parents weren't around at all. And during those really formative kind of developmental years that they need the attention as a kid, even just to, and to make decisions and they come into a thing, well, I don't know who I am because I don't know how to decide for myself. So I'll let the media decide for me. I'll let my friends decide for me. And you just kind of become this chameleon that will say and do whatever the people around you will say and do just to fit in, or just because, it might be uncomfortable going to a different sort of what happens if I identify I'm a Democrat or I'm a Republican or I'm this, because this world needs you to label yourself. You need to like declare who you are.
Labels are so important. Absolutely.
Yeah, so that I can determine whether or not this friendship is even worth it, or this interaction is even worth it, or I'm going to determine that you're right or wrong right from the get-go. So yeah, I think there's a fear of rejection. There's a fear of not being loved or adored, seeking after or being desperate for approval. That was a lot of mine. Was I just wanted people to like me. I don't like to not be liked.
Yeah.
But now I'm entering into my 40s. I'm like, look, it's not my responsibility.
If you
know
like
what I mean?
me,
I am who I am.
You don't.
Yeah, and when I am who I am, kind of flows with wherever the Lord leads me, whatever season leads me in. People are in my life for a reason or a season, and I understand that being biblical, and it's not my response. I will do everything that I can to make you feel comfortable, but it's not my responsibility for you to feel a particular way about me.
And I think that's the key part, because we are prone to trying to do whatever it takes to be liked.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter, like how you were saying, imagine that's torture to get to a point that you have to like sit down and listen to this music that you don't like.
No.
Because that it was like, okay, if I like the music, then they'll like me,
exactly.
and then like that, I won't feel rejected. I'll be part of, and everyone is always looking to be part of something.
And if I admit that, like, I like Britney Spears or I like NSYNC or something, that they'll,
they're like, what is wrong with you?
What is wrong with you? Yeah.
Yeah. So then all of a sudden now there's another label, like something's wrong with Michelle.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. I don't think we could be her friend because she doesn't like the music, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But also I think with time, as we mature, we start to realize that those things are not as important, right, as our true identity.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that I always say is that people go to their graves not knowing who they were created to be. And that is so, so sad. I remember hearing a pastor saying that the cemetery is one of the richest area in this world.
Yeah.
And when I've asked that question to people, like, what is the richest area in the world? And they give me like all these beautiful countries. And I'm like, no, it's the cemetery. And they look at me like with if I have 4 heads.
Yep.
And I'm like, there's so many dreams that actually went there.
All the unexplored.
Yes.
Yeah.
Imagine living your life and going to your grave and not knowing who you are. And people having to say, oh no, she like this or she like that. And you don't even know.
Right.
What you like. And I think it's so, so sad. And as a culture, we've gotten to a point that we want to fit in so bad that it doesn't matter that we actually hurt ourselves.
Right.
In this process.
I know.
And with that, I know that it's 2 of you guys. Yes. You're a twin.
Yeah.
So I want to go there.
Okay.
So how is that? Because I can only imagine. So I have twin friends. I have twin nieces, and they're identical. I have a twin friend as well. She's actually my ministry partner. And it's just so interesting to me, when I see, as we were talking, before we actually started, as far as like twins and stuff. So share with us a little bit about how did that actually even form your identity growing up?
So we did everything together when we were younger. In our elementary, middle school, high school years. We were on the same softball teams. We were in the same band, choirs, all that kind of stuff. And she was a built-in study partner, built-in playmate. So I think for a while, it was something that I didn't even really need to think about because I didn't have to fit in with her. We fit in together because we had been.
That's all you knew.
Exactly. We had been. I didn't have to like try to make friends with her because we were already friends from the womb, It was, my mom dressed us up similar. I was always the red twin. She was always the blue twin. So we would get like the matching outfits, but her outfit would be the color blue. Mine would be the color red.
Is it because you liked red?
I don't
even remember.
No, I don't. Okay. Yeah, I don't even remember. I think that was just like, sort of like, I think that was the rule that my mom made so that when we look at old pictures, also that when we look at old pictures, the red one is Michelle, that there wasn't like we weren't switching back and forth. That Michelle was in red, Jamie was in blue.
Do you like red today?
I do not. I mean, I like, like the warm tones, the fall
Oh
color
my gosh,
tones, but
that's funny.
I to this day I would not say like red is my
Yes,
favorite color,
okay. Mhm.
Um, but so it wasn't until middle school, was
Mhm.
specifically 8th grade, that I was invited somewhere separate from my sister.
Uh-oh.
And I was really excited about that
Yeah,
because I was entering into those teenage
of
years.
course.
Um, and we were always Jamie and Michelle, Jamie and Michelle, Jamie and Michelle. We were not two separate people. We were always invited to the birthday parties, always invited. It was always Jamie and Michelle going somewhere, pick up house, Jamie and Michelle, where's Jamie and Michelle? And then I had made a friend in a class. We were in a separate class, and I had made a
Mhm.
friend in the class, and that friend invited me over to like swim in her pool. And I was really excited about it. And
Mhm.
when I told Jamie about it, she's like, "Oh, okay, well, when were we leaving?" I was like, "Oh, well, you're not coming."
Yeah, it's just me.
And I wasn't trying to be mean about it, but at the same time, I do remember feeling that like, well, this is mine. You're not allowed to have it
Right, like,
too.
this is just
Yeah,
me,
this is
yeah.
just me, and I shouldn't have to, and
Share.
I feel really badly after the fact, and I felt guilty at the time too.
Mhm.
But I really did want to
You needed that for you,
explore,
yes.
yeah, something by myself.
Mhm.
And it ended up not, it wasn't a bad time. But I do remember there being like, oh, something is missing from this. And I'm not really enjoying myself because
Oh, because you were so used to being
yeah,
with her.
right. Exactly.
Oh,
Exactly. And then we went off to college, to separate colleges. That
yeah.
was like the first really big thing that we did
Wow.
separately from
Whose
each other.
decision was that to go to different colleges?
Well, we were exploring different fields. So my
Okay.
sister wanted to be a music teacher,
Mhm.
and I was going into architecture at the time. So we just explored different colleges, and it wasn't
Yeah.
like, well, we're definitely going somewhere different. But I look at twins now, at other twins that have like remained, for lack of a better term, like the Doublemint twins, like
Yes.
they were just always together, always doing
Yes.
things, like they even still dress alike
Yes.
nowadays. And I'm like, now I wish I had leaned into that a little bit more rather than
Okay.
rebelling against it so much.
Okay.
Um,
Mhm. In which way?
well, I do wish, well, my sister lives far away now. She
Yeah.
lives in Colorado, so it's not as, if not effective, that's not the word I'm
Right.
looking for, but
Like
it's
easy
not as
that you
readily
can
like
now.
accessible
Yeah.
now to like
Yeah,
do that sort of
absolutely.
thing. Yeah, I see
Mhm.
like older, there was a story that I read recently about like these triplet sisters who are in their like 90s now, and they just still go out and
Wow.
they still dress alike, and they go out
Aw.
and have coffee together, and I'm just like, "Oh, I wish that was me and my
Yes.
sister."
Mhm.
But I do wish that because I feel like there were some hurt feelings in me trying to like lean into my own identity rather
Yes.
than just accepting that this is part of me.
Yeah.
That instead of just, well, I didn't choose to be a twin. It was
Right.
never something like that, but more like, but I'm different than her. I'm my own
Yeah.
person. I don't want to, and I didn't have to do that. I
Yeah.
feel like things might have been different
Mhm.
or might have turned out differently or something like that. Like we're still very close.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
I think that there was some things that I probably said that were hurtful, that it didn't
Mhm.
have to be that way if I had just been okay
Yeah.
with that, had seen maybe that example of it or something. Yeah.
But I think it's hard also because it's like you're young, you're trying to fight for
Yeah.
your identity
Mhm.
and not knowing that both can coexist.
Exactly. Yes,
Right,
that
that you can
part.
still be like your
Mhm.
own person and then
Yeah.
also embrace this beautiful other
Yes.
part that
Yeah.
so many people wish they had.
That's true, and if someone had said something like
Yeah,
that, I think that we lean into the whole, like, well, you have to make a decision. You could either be
yes,
this way or that way, that
yes,
both can't exist,
right,
that you can't, something that comes up a lot is just like you can't grieve and also celebrate at the
yeah,
same time, that you have to
yeah,
either be grieving or
yeah,
celebrating. No,
yeah.
you can be both.
You
You
can do
can like
both.
honor the grief while also
Mm-hmm.
celebrating the
Yeah,
life. Yeah.
and that's exactly what it looks like, right?
Mhm.
It looks like
Yeah.
crying and laughing
Mhm.
maybe in the same sentence and being
Mhm.
okay with that.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
it's funny how, like what you said, when you're young and trying to get, just like,
yes,
oh man, so many things that we did, I did when we were young, that I just
yes.
like, looking back, with some
Mm-hmm.
more mature eyes.
Yeah, because identity is huge,
Mhm.
especially for a teenager, for a
Oh my
kid.
gosh.
It's huge,
Mhm.
especially like you were saying, like you have young kids as well. Even as you continue to grow, when you go through the kids go through these phases, it's
Yeah.
like,
I need to belong. I need to do
Mhm.
this, and I need to
Mhm.
know that I exist. And I can only imagine, even for you and your
Mhm.
sister, as far as like everyone, like just like the name itself.
Yeah.
It's like one name,
Yeah.
right? Jamie and Michelle.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? It's always like Jamie, not even Michelle and Jamie. It's like
Mhm.
Jamie and Michelle. It's
Yeah.
like it just rolls off people's tongues
Mhm.
as if it's like one unit.
Mhm.
But it sounds like you were saying, hello, here I am.
Yeah.
I also want to be seen,
Mhm.
and I also want my own identity because
Right.
you are one person,
Yes.
even though you guys shared the womb together.
Mhm.
So I could see why, you got to that point. And I shared with you also that there was a set of twins when I took them to enroll in college.
Mhm.
And I remember we were with the financial aid, I believe, or the advisor.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, so we got to pick our classes and we're going through all this. And I was shocked.
Mhm.
And when she's like, absolutely not, I don't want any classes with her. And I remember turning around and being like, are you okay?
Yeah.
And she was like, no, I'm tired of this. Like, she just had like a moment
Yeah.
right in front of this
Mhm.
advisor. She's like, all my life, I've had to compete for this and compete for that. And she's like, I
Yeah,
am
the
just so
competition.
tired
Mhm.
of it. She's like, the grades. Like, she just had like a moment. And I was like, do you need to talk to someone? Not to me. But maybe you need to talk to someone because right now this is not the appropriate place for you to be having this conversation. But I could see why. And she
Yeah.
explained to me afterwards, she was like, it's just been so difficult growing up and having to go through. And sometimes one of the twin ends up being in the shadow of the other,
Mhm.
and that's
Yeah.
difficult. It's very difficult. And
Yeah,
how people see you.
I was in that shadow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you
And
can
like
relate to that.
but my sister and I, we were very smart. We were very I'm not trying to boast of myself. We were very
Yeah.
smart. We were very talented. We were, it was one of our goals and objectives to like always be on honor roll. Like we were good. I love
Yeah.
learning even to this day. I love learning. I love even taking tests. You want to talk about nerdy. I would love to like take the SATs now to see how well I do. Just
Oh,
because I like
okay.
test taking and I like that
Okay,
sort
that
of
type
stuff.
of testing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we were really good in class. We were number 7 and 8. Jamie being
Wow.
7, me 8 respectively. We had an over 4.0 GPA. We were both, in the marching band, in the concert band, and the jazz band. Like we were very musically, skilled. But she always had the edge on me. She always got like, I got the
A little bit.
92 and she got the
Yes.
93, or, she got the 100 and I got the 99. It was always, or she always got like one more solo than me, or she was picked for a particular thing and I wasn't.
And how is that for you though?
It was really hard. It was really hard. Yeah. Because, as a kid, when it's always like, mommy, kind of like, look at me. And not to say that my parents, like paid
Absolutely.
any extra special attention to her. It felt like it to me at the time. My sister she was sick as an infant.
Okay.
So it was one of those like miracle babies, like growing up, like,
Yes.
look what Jamie can do. She shouldn't even be here kind of thing,
Yes.
But it did
Of
cut
course.
in some, and I tried my best, and I really just like, I tried to get the edge on her and I never got the edge. And she was like so natural about it. Well, I don't know if she would say the same thing. Maybe she would feel that there was a
It's
competition
different.
on the other
Yes.
side. But to me, it bothered me that she was like so, like she just like,
Very
no,
natural.
I took the test and she got a score, and I was just sitting here like, trying real
Studying,
hard.
yes.
Yeah, exactly.
But
And
it
she always
does
had this slight
develop
edge.
your identity though.
Yeah. And I think that's probably why in
Yes.
some cases that I like pushed harder against like the twin identity is because like I
You were
wanted
tired of it.
to be I wanted
You wanted your own
to
voice
be
though.
seen.
Yeah.
Yes, I wanted to be seen. And I know that those things are like so inconsequential now. They really are. And I really wish that I had had more of a real conversation with her back then, or with my parents back then about it, instead of just being like the kind of teenager or whatever. But yeah, I can't deny that was an experience that I had.
Of course.
And that it did push me to be certain ways, and to probably push more in those areas that like I didn't quite fit in, that I tried to push more to fit in more because I just
Yeah.
really just wanted to be seen, and I really wanted to be my own, and I wanted people to celebrate me.
Yeah.
And that was, and not to say that my parents did not celebrate
Of
me, you know
course.
what I mean?
But
But
that's
again,
just, yes, that was your
I'm
experience.
experiencing it with my own kids now. I was like,
Yes.
Toby always gets the blah, or I look at, you know,
Yes.
and I'm just like, no, I'm trying to do it evenly.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So, you know, but their experiences are their experiences, you know,
Absolutely.
and it doesn't discount what I went through. But I can't go back. I follow this. I don't even know what he is, a motivational speaker, something called Peter Crone, and he says, one of the things that he says is stuck with me. What happened happened, and it couldn't have happened any other way because it didn't. So it doesn't do me any good to look back and be like, oh, I wish I had done this differently, because I can't go back and change it.
Absolutely.
I can just move forward from this point. Yeah.
But I think it's beautiful that you're able to identify that. And it sounds like you were able to begin developing your own voice. Like it sounds like you were really like even fighting to develop and be seen, like how you were saying. So when did this happen for you, that you got to a point that you were able to say, you know what, like this is the moment now that I need to, you know, that you realized that you had permission to be Michelle?
Oh, very recently, actually. It was
Yeah,
not.
I
It
see
was
that. I
not
saw the
through.
pause. I
Yeah.
saw the pause.
It was not throughout those, like, you know, my 20s, 30s, that kind of stuff. And even, you know, pushing to have that identity, be accepted, be, you know, get the approval of people and stuff, I think really kind of put me in some dangerous situations that I didn't have to put myself in.
Yeah.
When we talk about identity and labeling ourselves, and we were talking previously
Yeah.
about having labels of like being a procrastinator, being someone who's always late, or
Yeah.
you know, that sort of thing. Like, I identified for many years as a fixer.
Yeah.
But I think that putting that label on it and identifying myself in that way attracted people who were not safe people for me. And I stayed in places and in rooms and relationships and friendships much longer than I needed to, because I clung to that identity of being a fixer so much that I did.
Codependency. I need to fix this.
Yes, that I didn't, that and the wanting of the desire for the approval. I can't let this person like go off and make me the villain. I'm not the villain. You know what I mean? So there were relationships and friendships, you know, I'm glad I am where I am now, and all the decisions that I made brought me to being where I am in my faith now. So I don't regret any of it. I do repent for some of it.
Of course.
Yeah, but I do wish I had learned and thought more about identity and being, like, I say this a lot to people who are struggling in that arena, that you're allowed to feel your feelings. Your feelings are not more or less valid than the other person in the room.
That's some good
yours are,
stuff.
yours are not less important. You know, that person is going to blow up and you feel fearful, but they feel comfortable in their feelings to be able to explode in that way. I'm not saying explode back, but you are also allowed, you know,
share those
you're
feelings.
allowed to set that boundary and say, I will not accept this. And I wish someone had like given me that piece of wisdom. It's always until I have that aha moment, and I wish someone had just said it to me to, like, you know, put
so
that seed
I
in.
want to
Yeah.
I want to go back there, because you said some great stuff. So when you're talking about like it's not until recent, so imagine those females that are out there and they're struggling, you know, they're in their 40s and they're like, oh my gosh, how do I actually have permission? Like, how do I get this permission to be able to use my voice and set my boundaries and know that it is okay, that I'm also worth what this person is worth?
Yeah.
You know, so talk to that person that's out there that's also struggling. Maybe like give them some advice in terms of like what you had to, you know, encounter in order to get to where you're actually going through this process now.
Right. I'm gonna keep coming back to my faith. Knowing who you are.
Yes.
So there's something that I said it as kind of like a cheeky thing. I can set all kinds of deadlines for myself, but
Yes.
I know the girl who set the deadline and she's full of crap,
Yes.
So I love the self-care movement. I love, like loving yourself. You should learn who you are and your identity, all that kind of stuff. I don't like, if positive affirmations help you, certainly, put them around your mirror, speak to them in life. I really believe in positive affirmations that are biblical because that foundation is with the creator of the universe. So I can't look in the mirror and say, you're brave and you're strong, because again, she's the one that said it and she's full of crap.
Yeah.
And I'm insecure and I'm, like if I'm insecure and I don't know who I am, then who am I to speak life into myself in that way? But what the way, the truth, and the life speaks about me, saying that I'm loved and I'm forgiven and I'm redeemed and you're never too far away from the Lord. Those sorts of affirmations, they carry with them a weight and a foundation that won't crumble the first time someone questions what you said or the decision that you made or whatever. You're like, well, if I'm following these values.
What would you say to someone that's out there that maybe may be struggling in their 40s and they're like, I just, how do I have permission? How do I get this permission?
Yeah.
Let's just say, even if they weren't a believer, like what can they do?
Right. It's really, I would say a lot of times people ebb and flow with their identity and with their friendships and their relationships and stuff because they have not set their core values. And I suggest writing them down, right?
Absolutely.
Write them down. There was a story that I heard one time about this, there's like two students while, are in the classroom when they're supposed to be at lunch and the teacher's not in the room and $5 gets stolen from the room.
Okay.
And they ask both boys who stole the money. And the one kid says, I didn't steal the money. And the other one says, I don't steal. That one, he has set the value.
Right.
And when you set the values, you're going to walk in that, in those values. So I really think
that's great.
that people should write down, like, I tell the truth. I am a loyal friend, not to the point of not truth telling, you know what I mean? So I'm not the loyal friend who will let you cheat on your husband, and give you the alibi, even when I'm not the alibi or whatever, but like set the standards. And that way, if something comes in and questions that, you could just be like, nope, that's not something that aligns with my values. And I think it's really important to do that because we live in a world where the media is trying to tell you who you should be and what you should do and what you should follow and the brands that you should buy and all that kind of stuff. And even though many of us think, well, it's the other side being manipulated, it's not me. We're all being manipulated because it's all about money and it's all about clickbait and all that kind of stuff. But you have to set the value. You set the values in your house. You set the values in your relationship, and you're okay. I'm giving you permission. Even if you can't give yourself permission, I give you permission. Set that boundary. And the boundary is not controlling the other person's behavior. It's what you are willing to put up with and what you're willing to accept. It's, you shouldn't talk to me that way versus I will not accept when you talk to me that way. I'm going to walk away. So it's setting the boundary when the behavior comes, what you are going to do in response to that behavior and not trying to change. Exactly. So I would say for sure, one of the biggest things you could do is decide who you're going to be, decide the person that you're going to be, and write down those values. And then if you face a decision or face a friendship or face a conversation or whatever the case is, and it doesn't align with those values, then you say, I'm very sorry. And you could bow out.
Yeah. And it's interesting because we do a lot of work here with that as far as like your value system, being able to determine like, what is your value system? Because when you really know what your value system is, especially when you're grounded in Christ, you're not easily moved, right? So someone can come and say certain things to you, or they can suggest certain things to you, and you're just like, no, I kind of, that's not me, right? It's
Yeah.
part of who you are. And that's what a value system is. And I think that a lot of parts of us got lost in the transition of adulting, of getting older, and we have to go back and find those missing parts.
Right.
And being able to pretty much explore and ask God, like, who am I? Going back to the word and going back to be able to, just investigate, like, Lord, who did you say that I am? What are some of the things that I like? And for those that are out there that are struggling, I would definitely say, if you don't know, then start to explore different things. Maybe go to a coffee shop by yourself and see what kind of coffee you like all these, because sometimes we're so attached, even being a twin, that we don't really even get time to be by ourselves, even with, as a mom, like with our children, like spending time one-on-one with that child, for that child also to begin to explore that it's not, the 2 or the 3 kids together, but they also have their own identity. And that is pretty much from birth, being able to practice that. But for those women that are out there that are struggling, I would definitely say, you have to begin somewhere. Maybe look at different things, make that list, write it down, check and see if you love things that are funny. And also, the other day I was having a conversation with someone and I said, when was the last time that you actually played? And they were just
had fun.
Yeah. And they were like, what?
Yeah.
Like, I'm an adult. What do you mean?
Yeah, what do you mean? Right.
Let me tell you, Michelle, I always say this. I am going to be a 95-year-old woman, little girl, running around in the park, jumping on swings, because if I see a swing, believe me, that's where you're going to find me.
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah,
I will be that person. Yes. I love having fun. I truly believe that laughter is medicine to the soul.
Yeah.
But people forget to live, and they forget really, like, who am I? Why can't we laugh and play? And as adults, but that identity got lost because of the role,
right?
Because of, okay, I'm a mom now, and especially for females, if you're listening to this, yes, go run. I always said I wanted to be a young mom because of that. I wanted to be able to run on the amusement park. And even when the kids were younger, we would go into the Great Adventures, get on the roller coaster, and we're just kids, all of us running through the park. But we have to learn how to also live. And I think that we forget that that's part of our identity. So there's so many missing parts of us that unfortunately went missing, and to be able to go back and reclaim them, that's so, so important. And I know you and I were talking about that, because sometimes it just happens so quietly that we don't even recognize it. Like, when did this happen?
Like the responsibility of adulting.
It's like, what happened? Like, where am I? And when you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, oh my goodness, who am I? And we can't answer that question. Because there were so many different parts and experiences, right? Trauma. And we were talking about that as far as, like, even when people feel that they're stuck because of an experience, because of something that happened to them. And that is difficult, So let's talk a little bit about that, because I know you and I, we had started this conversation sometime last week about, people that get stuck, in the trauma and life experiences. And that pretty much for them, it marked their identity. So if someone, let's just say, if they're depressed because of an experience, the experience happened.
Right.
But it does not mean that we have to continue, living that way, and being able to explore that, being able to say, I think you kind of touched on that earlier, as far as, like, yes, there is grief, but there's also laughter on the other side. And both can coexist. I can be grieving and at the same time still be laughing and jumping and having a great old time. So talk a little bit about that, because I know that was something big that when we were talking about, as far as, like, people feeling stuck.
I think it was something that you had just said made me think of, I really think some of it is tied to, like, people's expectations, or what we believe people expect of us. So we're talking about, like, the grief not coexisting with the laughter, and it can coexist with the laughter, but some people who are going through the grieving process are like, but if I start laughing, then they're going to think that I didn't love him as much, or that I got over it, or that I moved past it, or that I forgot about him, or something like that, where we put so much stock in other people's opinions and expectations of us that it creates a stuckness. I had another thought too, that sometimes we get stuck because of history.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as you grow and as you mature and as you live life and experience life, things change you. Experiences change you.
Absolutely.
Relationships change you. Maybe a friend of yours, has decided, I'm never going to get married. I'm never going to have kids. And here you are getting married and you're having kids. So now you've kind of come into a fork in the road where you're splitting in different directions. Now you have different goals in this person, and you're hanging on to, and I'm not saying that you can't have friends who aren't married and don't have kids or decided not to have kids. But if that relationship is now tense and you don't feel comfortable letting it go because we have so much history, that's where a person might get stuck in something. Like, I truly believe now in my 40s where I'm like, finally, like, your feelings are not my responsibility. I will do everything I can not to offend you and not to hurt your feelings. Of course, your feelings matter to me, but I'm not responsible for them.
Absolutely. You're not the emotional manager.
You feel, I tell my kids this all the time. We're having a good day because we're going to choose to have a good day. I can't, even I was, you're making me mad. And I go, nope, you're not making me mad. I'm choosing to be mad based on what you're in response to what's happening right now. Let's fix what's happening so that I don't get mad, kind of thing. But if you're feeling tense, if you're feeling like, I truly believe your friendships and your relationships, they should bring you peace.
Oh my goodness.
They should be peaceful.
It shouldn't be that difficult.
If every time you get together with this friend or this person or this boyfriend that you've wasted 8 years with, he's never asking you to get married or whatever, if that is just causing tension, you're allowed to let it go. Because why are you holding on to something that is hurting you, that's damaging you, that is creating like chaos, a stress response in you that's going to age you and cause autoimmune, you know what I mean? Like, why we're allowed to let it go. You're allowed to let go of the friendship. And I'm not saying let go of all your friends, but you're allowed to let go of the friendship if it's no longer serving you.
Absolutely.
Even if you've been friends since preschool. If you're not if you just have different goals and different likes, and maybe you became a recent believer and your friend's not a believer, invite them, keep inviting them, pray for them. But if every time you get together, you're butting heads with that person, Jesus says, I didn't come to bring peace. I came to bring division. And I don't like that thing, but that's what he's talking about is, you're okay. But, and then there's other thing. We label ourselves in a certain way. I have experienced sexual assault a few times. I've experienced domestic violence. I've experienced sexual harassment at the workplace. I've experienced what's it called when a person like discredits me because I'm a girl. I can't be as smart as they are or whatever. Discrimination. Yeah. So I've experienced all of those things, but I am not those things. I tell my kids, you're allowed to feel sad. You're not allowed to live there. You're allowed to feel, where we should be moving towards peace and all that kind of stuff. When I experienced sexual assault the first time, I was in college, and for a good year after, every time I was in the city, because it happened in the city, every time I was in the city, I imagined that he was like lurking around the corner. You know what I mean? And every time I saw someone who had like dark hair and dark eyes, I was like, oh my gosh, it's him, kind of thing.
It's a trauma response.
Yeah. And I decided one day, and I know that I do understand that not everyone is going to have the same experience, and not everyone is going to.
But this is your experience.
Yeah. One of the things that I really think that my mom kind of instilled in me and my sisters, she's always said that if your father ever laid his hands on me, I would leave and I would scrub toilets with a toothbrush if it meant putting a roof over your head and food on your table.
Absolutely.
That she set that boundary that I'm not going to, I'm going to be a fighter and a survivor. I'm not going to live whatever. And I understand that people's experiences are not that, but I'm trying to say that that your experience can be that if you make a decision. Of course, sometimes depression is a hormonal imbalance and it's something, and other times it's a choice. And I'm saying I chose one day that he had already, and I think this came much later. after I had been assaulted by a boyfriend, which I didn't know at the time was an assault, because I was just like, oh, well, I just didn't.
Yeah.
It was more like, well, I didn't do what I was supposed to do as a good girlfriend kind of thing. And it wasn't until a couple of years later. And then I was finally like, I'm living here in this stress and in this anger and unforgiveness.
Yeah.
And he's just like living his life and doing whatever he wants to do. And I'm drinking the poison and hoping he will die.
Yeah.
And of course I wasn't hoping he would die, but you know what I'm trying to say. But I finally decided he's taken up enough real estate in my mind.
Yeah.
I don't choose to be, it's a choice for me to live as his victim for the rest of my life, or it's a choice for me to live my life and just not brush it off, but it's an experience I had. It's an experience that I cannot change. It's an experience that helped shape me into the person that I am today, and maybe into the passion that I have for domestic violence, or the passion that I have, for really in domestic violence, but survivorship and victim advocacy and all that kind of stuff. Like, I have a passion for that. And it probably came from that.
And I was about to say that to you, that many times our experiences and the trauma that we've been through lead us right into becoming, let's just say, that advocate for someone else.
Yes.
Right? Because your pain actually became someone else's. It became your purpose to be able to help someone else.
Right.
And yes, you're absolutely right that some people, they don't have, maybe that ability to be able to say, let me just shut down my nervous system at this point, and they're able to choose because of the level of trauma. And in cases like that, we do have to, seek help.
Right.
To be able to help, people. And I myself have been through so much trauma. I remember sharing that there's an ACEs test that if you took it, you would be able to check off all the boxes, because it's like, oh my goodness, like, you've been through all this stuff, Sashi. Like, what in the world, right?
Well, the ACEs, the adverse childhood experiences, right? Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So going through all that and being able to sit here in this space, people would never even imagine all the different, the various traumas that I myself have been through.
Yeah.
But it cannot define your identity. And until you have that moment of, oh my goodness, like the awareness first, because you have to have that awareness first as far as like, I'm choosing not to. It is difficult because pain can actually define. It shouldn't.
It shouldn't.
But sometimes it will define someone's identity, and it's hard for them to be able to move past that in order to say, you know what, no, I'm choosing at this point that I don't want to continue living that way. And it is difficult for some people. Unfortunately.
And when we talk about it being difficult, I just want to put it like, because sometimes people are so stuck in it that they really don't think that there's any other way out, or that there is any way out. But I want to say out loud for someone listening, maybe, that don't close yourself off to the possibility that there is a way out.
Yeah.
Try something new. If the first 10 times didn't work, don't think it's never going to work. Maybe the 11th time will, like, keep fighting, keep doing it, keep going for it. Yeah. Because I really like, of course, I believe in the creator of our universe.
Yeah.
He can do exceedingly and abundantly more than we can ever imagine. He is the great physician, the great healer. And what is impossible for man is possible with him.
Yep.
Truly, I believe that. I was delivered from depression, anxiety, all of those things. And I tried a lot. I tried a lot of things. I tried medication. I tried smashing the plates. I tried, meditation, all kinds of stuff. I tried tarot cards. I tried like everything. And it wasn't until I was just like, okay, well, I tried everything I could, help me kind of thing. I did everything that I could. I'm going to lay it at your feet and you're going to. And people, maybe they've been told by a doctor. I had a friend tell me one time that a doctor told her that she has untreatable depression.
Oh my goodness.
And I think that she,
she held on to that.
Yeah, that maybe she's not open to the possibility of ever receiving a healing or ever receiving because someone told her that it's untreatable. And and that's, I just stay open-minded, you know,
Yeah.
just don't close yourself off to the possibilities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the experiences, they do matter.
Mhm.
You know, the experiences that people have gone through, like, they do matter. They did happen. We're not minimizing it.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and healing does take time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I remember someone asking me years ago, they were like, Sashi, well, you know, even a friend, when I had shared with her a little bit about my experience, and she looked at me like if I like was going, she was like, what?
Yeah.
Sashi, like, what in the world? And I'm like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't until I started, you know, really digging into God and seeking that relationship with Him is when I started to find true healing. And during that time, I've never went to therapy at all. You know, I started going to therapy after my son Anthony passed away. So nothing, but it was just that. It was, you know, me being able to teach Sunday school and do it for so many years. And I started to really indulge in the Word is when I started to find my true healing.
Yeah.
So it's not that the experience didn't matter. It's not that, you know, the experience, like we're minimizing it.
Right.
But it is something that it happened and
Right.
it's part of, right, who I am. It's part of pretty much what made me today. But when
Right.
I look back, I'm like, wow, Lord, at the end of the day, you're still such a good God.
Amen.
You know, you're still such a good God
Yeah.
in the midst of every single pain, because the pain, you're going to remember it. It's not like if it's just going to go away, but you have to remember that your identity is rooted in Christ. You know, and I think that people do, you know, forget that. So as we get ready to close, and you've shared so much powerful information, and thank you so much for being just so open and vulnerable.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, what would be
Letting
like
me.
one thing that you would actually say to the audience today that they can maybe walk away with?
I think there's maybe a couple of things just all kind of related is you matter. Your existence is just as important as the next person.
Yes.
That you are loved and you were chosen.
Yeah.
You were chosen. I heard this. It was like a scientific thing, and the person said there were so many billions and billions of possible combinations of DNA that could have happened at the one given time, and you were born.
Yes.
The fact that we have such a good, loving Father that chose you to be here right now, it means that you have gifts, skills, a purpose in the kingdom that surpass and supersede and take priority over anything that the world tells you is worth. So your feelings are valid and they're important. Your experiences are valid and they're important.
Yes.
But we want to move towards peace. We want to move towards joy. We want to move towards love. And if there's anything in your life that's not serving that purpose, it's okay to let it go. Despite the history, yes, you have permission to let it go. You have permission, despite any history that you might have with it, despite how you feel other people might think about it, despite it's your life that you have to live. That person is not paying your bills. They're not the ones that have to live with the experiences and the decisions that you make. So yeah, you have permission. You matter, and you have permission to let go of the things that are not serving that peaceful, joyful, loving part of you.
Yes. Well, you said it all. I mean, I pretty much was going to wrap up with that, but I think you did a great job of just sharing that. There was a scripture that I wanted to share as we get ready, you know, to close, but it's in Galatians 1:10, and it says, "For do I now persuade men or God, or do I seek to please men? For I yet please men, I should not be the servant of Christ." And it's so important for us to know that, yes, you are loved, you are chosen, like you are a chosen person. And just being able to recognize that out of this entire, like, in the entire universe, there's only one you.
Yeah.
Even as a twin, there's only one you.
Yeah.
So you're different. Even with that, you may have the same DNA and everything else, but your fingerprints, all these different things, like, it's just, to me, I'm just like mesmerized that like that God would choose me to be on this earth at this moment, speaking to Michelle.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what, like, who am I that he thinks so highly of me? You know, that I can actually like be in this space right now and breathing. And because of my experiences, you know, this is where I am today. You know, because God never wastes a pain.
That's
He
right.
will never, ever, ever waste a pain. He will always use it for a purpose bigger
Yes.
than ourselves. And it's so important. So if you're out there and you're struggling with self-identity, if you're struggling with, you know, trying to figure out, you know, who you are in this season of life, you know, definitely seek help because, yeah, some experiences, they're a little bit more,
Right.
you know, difficult, you know, to handle on your own. So seek help, find a therapist, find someone, you know, find a church, find a friend, but a true friend.
Yes.
You know, but you don't have to adapt. And you also, you know, going back to what Michelle was saying is that, you know, you do have permission to be able to get rid of what, you know, is not serving you. So thank you again, Michelle, for being
Yes.
part of today's
Thank you for having me.
conversation on
Yes. Great. I'm
self-identity.
so
Oh my
excited.
goodness.
Yeah.
Yes. We could go on and on and on.
Yeah, for sure.
But for the listeners, thank you so much for joining us today. We do have a great conference coming up called the Freedom Experience. And guess what? It's on identity as well.
Awesome.
So this is going to be phenomenal. So that's going to be happening on October 22nd. So we're so excited, Michelle. You're more than welcome to be part of that as well.
Cool.
And we hope to see you guys as well in the next Soul Conversations with Z, Healing in the Raw. Thank you so much.